I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, our 220th episode. Holy crap, Tom. We're going to do Matt and Kim's recent release called Sidewalks. If you haven't heard of Matt and Kim, what the hell is wrong with you? Because, I mean, everyone loves them. In fact, that's how we found out about him, is because so many people were talking about him on the internet. And we're like, well, I guess we'll check them out. And apparently this is, what, their second album? Second album. And it's short. It's a duo. It reminds me of Mate's Estate. I didn't write that down. But to kind of give the sound, the vocals are reminiscent of Yeasayer.
Yeah.
Peter, Bjorn, and John, I mean, I just get huge PB&J vibes when I listen to this. But Mates of State and Sleigh Bells. And Sleigh Bells is a little different, but kind of the way that Matt and Kim are going about their song. But
yeah, it's more about the approach to the music and the attitude that you'll get that comparison, and just the way they structure the album.
Yes, and Kim is the drummer, and Matt is the vocalist. And I don't know if he does synth work. I'm sure he does. There's lots of synths and electronics on this album, and most of the time it's pretty good. Now one thing that I found interesting, Tom, is that while one of the Matt and Kim duo is the drummer, there's a lot of drum machines on this album. Yeah. And my first big criticism, I mean, the first track, block after block, there's just this horrible drum machine part, and at first it was really off-putting to me. I didn't really like the album to start with because the drum machine was so hard to swallow. I mean, I choked on it.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. It really is.
But you know, I think that between the drum machine, just the general sound of the drum machine that they use throughout the album, and then just some of the beats, you know, those were my big criticisms with this live. But I know, Tom, that you had some things you wanted to note, so I'll let you jump in and dissect.
Well, after first hearing the first song on the album, I was kind of like, whoa, this is really, really sugary pop, bubblegum, electronic. I was like, I don't see how I'm going to like this. Well, I do like it. I do like it. Don't get me wrong. But the things that I did and didn't like about it were way different than what I anticipated, knowing myself. Because I actually like the sound. The sound isn't too much for me. It is very poppy, but it's good. It's a good sound. What ended up frustrating me about it is that I feel like it's a little one-dimensional. What you get from the first couple songs is, in general, now there's a little bit of an overstatement because like Where You're Coming From is a good kind of slower track.
Red Paint changes things up.
Exactly. I mean, you get a little bit of variation, but it stays pretty close to home base. It doesn't really try to do a whole lot different. It's just kind of like, we've got this sound, let's see what songs we can write with it. And the songwriting is good. The songs are undeniably catchy from start to finish.
Yep.
I wish that they had done a little more with the actual sound. And now getting to Matt's vocals. By track 5, I'm annoyed. To just put that out there, he is a good singer. He's a very good writer, just of vocal melodies. But his performance, the whole block after block thing, it really irritates me once I get to the back half of the album, and I'm just like,
it's like he's almost halfway to Donald Duck impersonation. You know?
Yeah.
He's halfway there.
Yeah.
And he either needs to back it off some or just go complete Donald Duck.
But I felt like that was a little unnecessary. I feel like even when he was even for the more sentimental tracks, he could have been a little more authentic with it, but it's like he was still trying to be that grandiose performer putting on this voice. And I mean, maybe that's unfair because maybe he's not really trying too hard. That's just kind of what his natural voice sounds like. And if that's the case, okay. But either way, it rubbed me the wrong way upon subsequent listens. As I kept getting through the album, I was like, man, I like this at first, but I just can't take too much of it.
So would you say that you like the front half more than the second half?
Not even in general as far as the songs go. I think it's pretty even. It's more just whatever I listen to, the first 20 minutes of whatever I listen to of it, after that it's going to bother me a little bit. I can't take too much of that same performance style throughout.
Well, the album isn't overly long. I mean, it's, what, like 36 to 8 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't even think it breaks 40.
Somewhere around there.
Which I appreciate, which is another comparison to Sleigh Bells. You know, they have a very defined sound. It's strategic. Matt was actually quoted once saying, you know, they don't write songs, they write pop anthems or anthems, and that's exactly what these are. There's 10 pop anthems on here. Very just in your face pop anthems, and that's probably, you know, partially the reason why that vocal style is there on every single track. And because the album's short, it's a little bit easier to take down, even though the album is just so sickeningly sweet from start to finish. I already mentioned that, you know, we've hit the three things that I don't like, but some of the things that, like, I really think this is an original sound. Yeah. And while they're using some beats and production that a lot of big... Eminem on his new crappy album and Modest Yahoo on his new crappy album, both used, and I mean, these are bands, you know, these are artists that clearly took production into this range and their beats into this range on their newest releases that I didn't like, I didn't care for. I thought it was crappy and poorly done and poppy to this sinful level. And I think that Matt and Kim kind of do that here, but at the same time they're mashing in, you know, other styles in there to keep it fresh and
at least their songwriting fits with that sound.
Yeah. And I also think that they do a good job of controlling the song. Some of their songwriting is actually pretty good, and dynamics that you get in there. And that's something that I appreciate, especially when you're talking about something as blatantly, you know, poppy and mainstream as Matt and Kim would be, even though they're not completely mainstream. I don't know. Are these guys played on the radio? Do you guys know?
I have no idea.
I mean, we don't listen to the radio. We don't have time because we listen to these albums so much. But if you guys listen to the radio and they play, let me know because I'm interested.
Well, also, Central Iowa radio might not be the best representation.
Yeah, we got a lot of country here, and that's not really music. But that's just our opinion. Overall, my favorite tracks, I love the track Cameras, and then which is track 3, and then track 4, Red Paint, has this sweet synth part in it that I just can't get out of my head. It's actually in my head right now. I mean, I could play it for you if my brain had speakers.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I have one more track. All right, 2 more tracks. 7 and 8, Northeast and Wires.
One thing I want to mention real quick that you mentioned before we started talking about the dynamics on this album, about how for a pop album they do a good job of the dynamics, because usually it's just with albums like this, it's just kind of the same level throughout, but they're good at dropping out parts of the sound and bringing them back in for contrast and things like that. So that's very commendable. But as far as track picks goes, I really like the first track, Block After Block. Track 3, Cameras, and the last track, Ice Melts. Good, fun closer.
Yeah, I like that as a closer. I thought that's an excellent way to end the album. I feel like this is fairly strong of an album. Still, there's some things holding it back from being really good. And I also think that with subsequent listens, this would wear a little thin. Now, I said this, and I'm going to give it the same score that I gave Sleigh Bells Treats. And I turned out to love Sleigh Bells Treats after I kept listening to it over and over. I mean, I gave it a 75. That's what I'm giving this. I would probably give that album upper 80s to a 90 now. I just think it's fantastic. But this album, I don't know if that's going to do it for me, so I'm going to go 75.
I'm going to go 70. I liked it. I think there was a lot of work to be done. I will listen to this again. But there's work to do.
You know, and another thing to mention is there actually is a lot of potential here. These guys are obviously talented. You know, if they could put together an album that was just a little bit more serious and adventurous, I think that it would be, you know, kind of a cool listen. And so it's going to be fun watching these guys as they, you know, release subsequent listens. But anyways, I think that wraps it up. So what do you guys think? Do you guys, first of all, do you hear them on radio? Do you like this sound? Do you think that they should change or keep putting out the same, you know, pop blast in your face all the time? Let us know at YouTube or www.velocitiesmusic.com. I am Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are BIMTV Movie Music Critique Forward.